Hi guys, welcome back to Roughing with the Sappers. This is going to be our exciting Father's Day special.
Aww.
But recently we were invited to do a podcast with Refs Need Love Too, which is a really good grassroots channel that primarily does short form content on Instagram, TikTok, branching into YouTube and Spotify with podcasts. We were invited to do a podcast with them, and on it we were asked questions about what we do on our channel and primarily how I, as a young referee, deal with situations. So it was a really good opportunity to do.
Yeah, if you watch this channel, you're already probably familiar with David Gerson's content. If you're not, you should be. And go over and subscribe, help him, because he does more probably for grassroots refereeing than almost anybody we know. He does really fantastic stuff. But we appreciate him having us on. We were very honored to be part of that, and we could have talked to him, frankly, for hours. It was a really fun time.
So sit back, relax, maybe grab a bit of popcorn, and listen to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love Too podcast, the show that gets real, raw, and behind the scenes with the hardest job on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee with over 10 years of experience and over 1,200 matches under my belt. You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, and now even on YouTube, where I'm posting videos of these full podcasts. This week, we are going to connect with another wonderful group of people doing the important work of developing the next generation of referees. They run a channel called Reffing with the Sappers, and I cannot wait to learn more from Katie and Scott Millsap. Katie and Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be on here. I'm a youth referee. I'm turning 16 this June, and this will mark my 3 years being a grassroots level referee.
Wow. I love to hear that.
Hey, Gerson, I'm a huge fan of the channel. Really like all of the stuff that you put out. Super excited to be here with you. Obviously, I'm much older than 15, but
Don't look and say over 30.
yeah, but happy to be here.
Okay. I'm loving Katie already. First off, like taking the mic, goes in, introduces herself, doesn't wait for dad to lead the way. My gosh, outstanding. And then she's also, like your hype man, like your hype woman. She's giving you a little, making you feel good about your age.
I'll do that
off camera. Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. Totally. That is just like a father-daughter relationship. I appreciate that. But that is so cool. So if you don't mind, again, now I know about your YouTube channel and I've seen your videos, but I know there's a lot of people out there who haven't, and I want people to learn more about the Sappers. So can you tell people what it is and where they might find you?
Yeah, so we started the channel. I think we uploaded we're primarily on YouTube. We started the channel a little over a year ago in May of 2023. The kind of nexus of it was we were refereeing some games, and one of the clubs that we referee for locally bought a subscription to one of the major camera suppliers. And one of the assigners sent us a video of a game that was kind of controversial. And I went through and I reviewed from beginning to end. I went through every single decision that was made as a referee, wrote it up, and I sent it back to the signer and said, hey, look, I actually think this was a pretty good game. Here's the pieces I thought I missed. But overall, I don't see major issues here, so I'm not sure why they're complaining, right? And anyway, we don't go into that specific game, but we kind of enjoyed doing that exercise, and it started to give us the thought of, other people might be able to learn from that same thing too. So we decided a little bit of what we call it our passion project. We said, well, we don't know if anybody will ever watch this. We don't know if anybody will ever find it interesting, but we will enjoy it together. And if we learn something together, then that's worth it.
That is so cool. I have a question for you. So, Scott, were you a referee before Katie became a referee, or did you become referees together?
So my son also referees, and he was on the first few episodes. He's been on a few episodes of the channel. He's not as passionate about it as we are. But when he was looking for something to do together, is a father-son exercise. And I ended up becoming certified with him because we decided, hey, we can do this together and have something that's just ours. And then as Katie reached the age of 13, she also joined the group. And for a while, we refereed quite a bit as a complete family crew. But over time, he also plays and hasn't been as passionate about it. So now he only does it occasionally for a little bit of spinning. whereas we have a deeper passion for it.
I started off because I wanted money because I saw the money that they were making. And my 13-year-old mind was like, I need to get on this. But I've really developed a passion for soccer and for refereeing it. So that's why I continue.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Katie, did you play as well?
No, I don't play. I actually played basketball and not soccer. I just got into it because my brother played soccer and I don't know how to referee that.
Well, I'm glad you became a soccer referee. I will tell you, it's so funny, Scott, that you mentioned the thing to do with your son. My son was able to get certified at 10. But I can tell you the time that you spend together as a family, going to games, talking about the games afterwards, the experiences that you have together on the pitch, it really is an amazing bonding opportunity. And I don't know of any other father-son, father-daughter family experiences like as a hobby that are like that. It's really kind of unique.
And don't forget spilling the tea on the crazy coaches and parents.
What's more interesting, gossip from school, maybe someone getting pregnant or a parent yelling at me? I prefer parent yelling at me. Like,
Absolutely. Well, I think it is funny. I will say my wife, who's not a soccer referee, at some point she was like, you guys have to stop talking about soccer 24/7. Like it would just drive her insane because my son and I would either be reminiscing about a match or there'd be some crazy play or something like that. So it can cause family strife for the other family members when you guys are so into it. So I will ask for Katie, obviously you said, money was kind of why you got into it. And I can't imagine there's many other jobs out there for 13, 14, 15-year-old teenagers to earn that kind of money. But aside from the money, what else do you like about being a referee? Because you've stuck with it for a couple of years now.
one, I like sharing the tea to my friends. And that is a tiny bit of a driving force. But mainly, I like interacting with the younger kids because they're really sweet and wholesome. It brightens up your day to give a good refereeing experience for them so that they can continue playing a sport that they love. And on top of that, I just like the adrenaline of getting out there, doing my best work. And it's a job that I really enjoy because like the physical exercise, the people that are out there, the people that I get to work with. So overall, I stuck with it. One, for the passion of soccer, and then two, for the people that led me along the way.
Wow. And Scott, so I've got to ask you, you've brought your children into world of refereeing. Do you ever get worried for your kids, whether it was for your older son who was in it, or Katie? I'm sure there's games now where she's actually out, maybe not working with you as a crew. Do you get worried about her going out and reffing?
There are times that I think every referee who's done it any amount of time knows somebody who's been assaulted. It doesn't happen very often, right? But I think we all know somebody. So you worry about something like that happening. It's also a observation of mine that while I would hope that people generally would give a little more deference to a younger referee, unfortunately, I think there's people who see that as a weakness and pounce on it a little bit. You always worry what happens, but I also think that people need to grow into some of those things. Some people have a good personality for it, and a personality that's willing to take on a little bit of criticism and take on that responsibility. I have no doubts where Katie is on that spectrum. But I also know that my son actually attempted to do a center when he was 13, and a coach didn't treat him. It was like his very first center, right? And a coach didn't treat him very well. And honestly, ever since that time, he has refused to do any centers then. And now he also looks at it and says, well, the assistant referee only earns $5 to $10 less than the center referee, and I don't have to deal with any of the grief. But, that saddens me that happened. Katie can attest, she's gone and done some events, and then I think that I'm hiding over in a corner where she can't see me, and then she tells me after Dad, I knew you were there, right?
So Katie, have you adapted or have you found a way to deal with those situations when you have a coach? We'll stay with coach here because parents is a whole different thing. But let's say coach or players, you're a 16-year-old young woman and you have a coach who could be twice, 3 times your age, who's starting to engage in dissent. How do you go about addressing that? What skills have you learned to kind of employ to help you get control of that game?
My main skills that I've employed is that most of the time trying to talk it out with them, especially when they're in more of an aggravated debate, they're not going to hear it. They're not going to want to hear it from me because I'm younger. They think they're older. They think that they're more mature. They think that they know the rules better. So usually trying to engage them in like more conversation about why the rule is the way that they is. And most of the time they're not going to listen. So I'll mainly go, coach, your behavior is irresponsible. It needs to stop. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
Coach, sometimes I like running my mouth at them. I've done that a few times. Not my proudest moment, but it was certainly funny. But most of the time I like keeping a level head and just telling them to stop it instead of trying to engage them in the conversation of why I'm right. Because they can just look up the rules by themselves. I believe in their ability to use technology. I feel like they can look by themselves, or if they really have a question, then they can come politely ask it to me, like during halftime or maybe after the game. One, it has to be polite, because if it's not polite, you're out of my presence.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take any crap from you, and I'm going to shut it down, and I'm not going to entertain you with explanation.
Okay, you sure she's only 16, Scott? You sure?
Well, she's been, since she was 3 years old, she's been going on 35. So.
I feel like I'm sitting here talking with a woman who's 5-10 years older than she is. I mean, I love what you're saying there, and I think that's so true. And I try and coach referees this, especially young referees. It's not going to be a long conversation. I'm just going to address the behavior. If someone's engaging in public dissent, certainly if someone really has something has a question about, I'm happy to listen to a question and give my explanation. But beyond that, we're certainly not going to have an argument, right? Because they're not in a frame of mind to listen. And it's not about my call. It's about their behavior. Coach, you're engaging in public dissent. Please stop now or there will be consequences. But it sounds like you've got it. Oh my gosh. I mean, Katie, it warms my heart. And Scott, as a father, I'm sure you're looking at your daughter going, wow, this is a mature young woman who's not only going to be successful in life or on the pitch, but successful in life if she's got that kind of mental fortitude to be able to deal with that and stay strong and stay focused on the game.
Yeah, very proud of her for her approach to those things. I can't take all the credit. Her mom did an amazing job as well. But yeah, you always hope that your children grow to be productive adults and strong in their own mind. And I have no doubts where she's at.
Very cool. You knew he felt that way about you. You know he's a proud papa. I have one more question, and then we're going to get into, just to set the scene for the people listening to this. Tell me a little about like where you guys are based and what type of games do you normally officiate as well?
So we live in Roseville, California, which is a suburb of Sacramento, California. It's in the north central valley of California. Very big hotspot for soccer, lots of clubs here, lots of games. We work for a variety of different clubs. We try to spread it around. Obviously, the closer they are, the more likely we are to take the games, but we try to spread it around to where we don't have a home club per se. Throughout our area, there is a wide range of soccer. I will say in the last couple of years, we started in rec soccer, basically to learn. And yes, I think every referee usually start that way, and if they don't, they should, right? But we don't really do much rec anymore unless there's a specific need that an assigner really reaches out to. We mostly do competitive club soccer. I also do high school soccer and some adult amateur league. The clubs that we work for have everything from bronze level, and I'm not sure what the designations are in your area, but, everything from bronze to Premier, to NPL, to ECNL. Mostly we do those NPL and down games just because that's what's closest to us, but we've definitely done some ECNL games. And then we do some various tournaments and some youth or referee development programs where we sometimes do higher level games too.
So
that's
usually
fantastic.
I'm also in that area of bronze to Premier. Sometimes they'll bring me out to rec games, and recently been more on a referee coach rather than being a referee myself on those rec games, just teach like younger ARs, younger referees. But I also do bronze Premier mostly just because that's more available in our area. Recently, since I've joined one of the referee groups, I've been doing more high level games with them, like more like NPL, EPNL. Also recently, I refereed the California State Cup with the group as well. So I've also been trying to do more high level games.
That's fantastic. Really cool. So now let's pivot and talk about reffing with the Sappers. Because again, you guys are kind of unique out there You guys go a little bit wider and a little further and a little deeper in some of the stuff that I've seen you guys have do on your channel. So talk to me a little bit about Reffing with the Sappers. Who's your target audience and what are your goals for the channel?
It's a great question. We generally review an entire game and we break it down from a referee perspective to the primary decisions in that. We ignore throw-ins and corner kicks unless there's something very unique about them, because frankly, they usually don't. Corner kicks sometimes, they don't usually affect them that much. But break down the entire game of the other decisions. Is there a call that was made, or was there a decision that needed to be made? Maybe we decided not to call it, but we thought of calling it. And we go through our game. Usually there's between 25 to 45 of those types of decisions throughout a game, depending on the length and how it goes. And we give ourselves a grade on each decision. We talk about, do we think we got that decision right? Do we think we got it right? Some of them clear as day, one way or the other, right? Other ones, there's a lot of, we'll watch things a dozen times in ultra slow motion to decide what we want to say about it, and do we think we got it right or wrong. And we have one of those cameras on the side there where we record all of our games. And then I started wearing a microphone recently. But I do understand our format on YouTube. The videos end up being between 25 and 45 minutes long. We kind of feel like a game has a story to tell. And when things go south in a game, like there's controversy at the end of the game, it's very rarely that decision right before the fight happens or the shoving happens actually was the root cause. It's usually a story from the beginning to end, and even some of the rather benign calls add to that, right? And that's why we do it. I really hope that it can reach kind of everybody who's involved in soccer at the grassroots level in terms of referees, coaches, parents, and players. Now, obviously, more referees watch our channel than I think, almost anybody else. And I hope for those referees that they, especially if you're first getting started, we're not national referees. I'm not qualified to go out and all I can do is use my about 1,000 games of experience and what I've seen and the mistakes that I've made, and every single thing I know for sure about the laws of the game. I know because I screwed it up once and I went back and I read the laws. But we've gotten feedback from other refs that they're getting started in referee and just watching a game from beginning to end and understanding the thought process and why exactly the same foul in one game might be a yellow card and exactly the same foul in a different game might just be a verbal talking to. Also, people just telling us that, hey, hearing you be honest about when you made a mistake, right? And that you're not perfect is something that's refreshing for them. It makes them feel better about their own referee. But we've had coaches that we referee who say that they will actually have a sit down and watch our review of their game with their team to understand better what the referee's thinking and why something went a certain way, so they can both improve their game and adjust and understand what referees are actually thinking. And I kind of would love to think some parents also watch it and learn some things about what the referees are doing. But I think if you boil it all down to goals of the channel, we just want kind of anybody who's involved in grassroots soccer to be able to see what we're seeing. We're not FIFA referee. We're not national referees. We're just people who love doing it and are trying to do the best we can and see from our.
I think that's so valuable. I always try and remind people that 99% of referees are like us. They're the grassroots referees who are going to these matches on random pitches. They don't have security. They don't have comms devices. They're not getting training every single week and assessments. They're just trying to do the best they can. And so I think it's outrageously valuable what you're doing, because you are so much more most referees out there than those national or FIFA referees that we see on TV, and the scenarios that they're dealing with are also different too. And I just want to clarify one more time, I think that's so important. You are actually breaking down your own games. So you're watching back the games you guys have reffed and analyzing your own performance on there. And sometimes you find things that maybe you didn't get right or could have improved.
Yeah, that's 100% right. It's actually a rule of the channel that we do not break down any game where either one of us wasn't the center referee, or we have done a few episodes where another referee has video of their game and they've joined us to break it down. But we basically, as a rule of the channel, we do not break down other people's game, because honestly, that back to that story that every game has, you need to understand what the referee saw, maybe they saw it wrong. Maybe we just didn't see it correctly, but what did you think you saw when making the decision so that you can then talk about it? So that is a hard rule of the channel that we have. We don't break down, and frankly, just not qualified to break down other. I'm not an assessor, right? I'm just a guy trying to do better.
I also think that's like highly valuable, just to like review what you're doing on the pitch, just the like you can recognize the mistake that you're making, maybe in positioning, maybe in like the fouls that you're calling, or like the yellow cards that you are or are not giving out. And that just helps you adjust, because even if like that post-game talk about like maybe what you need to do better, looking at it like face value can definitely help you improve a lot. Yeah.
One thing that's also interesting is that we do take part in California North Referee Association has a good development program, and Katie's in the youth development group there. I'm in a group where they're trying to, grassroots referees and add some skills, right? And it's interesting going to those events because you'll get that they have mentors watch you work games, and some of the feedback you get, while it's very valuable, a lot of times it's geared towards if they're trying to develop you to work like semi-pro games, develop you up to those higher levels, right? But frankly, like if you're going that direction, I'm too old to go that direction, right? And that's a different game, right? The suggestion of how you move in one of those professional games changes when you know that team knows how to build out from the back, right? And so where you need to be to anticipate that play and how far ahead of it you need to be before you let the play pass you. It's all great advice, but only if the team knows how to do that. And so then you go and you ref a bronze level, which is just a step above rec, and the game doesn't play out that way, right? It's also seeing it at the grassroots level, and the videos hopefully provide some feedback to something that other referees and people can use as they watch our break.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point. So I will say, and Scott, I highly encourage you to become a certified mentor as well, because the training as a mentor is really helpful. This is news, but when I was up in New York City, actually about to referee a soccer match on Saturday, I found out that I am actually now a certified referee mentor. What's
Nice.
up? Yes,
Yeah,
I know, very exciting. Woo! But in the same conversation with the state director of instruction, Patrick Lama, I love you if you're listening to this, he was talking about what they're going to be doing next year. And again, it's oriented towards that top, right? Like the guys and gals who are going to President's Cup right now and going to be going to regionals, they are getting training because they could be the regionals and nationals and the pros of tomorrow. But I was saying, well, Patrick, what about grassroots? What are we going to do about grassroots officials? Like, it's exactly your point. The type of things that you deal with on a recreational match, or again, I call it glorified rec. No offense intended out there. I'm sorry for some of these matches that are quote unquote academy, but it's certainly not MLS Next, no doubt. And I'm not throwing stones. I want people to play. But the types of skills and types of conversations you're going to have, and the types of teams you're going to be working with, and the type of parents you're going to be dealing with, quite honestly, and coaches you're going to be dealing with, are different skills. It's a different reality. And not developing training to prepare refs for that. And that's where we're losing everyone. This 80% of referees that we lose in that first 3 years, we're not losing them on MLS Next games and at the regional level. We're losing them these games, these bronze games you're speaking of, these recreational games, the U10 games. My gosh, U10 soccer is so hard to officiate. No one understands. It's like the most difficult thing you can officiate sometimes. And the parents are insane and the coaches are insane. Let's prepare people to deal with U8 and U10, and we may actually get people to stick around.
Now, I said that a minute ago, 100% believe everything I know for sure about refereeing, I know because I screwed it up. Our hope with our channel is that if you can see me or one of us screw it up first, and you can learn that without having to screw it up yourself, it's a win. And yeah, just hope people can get that and see it.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer, you'll hear me say it all the time, mistakes are learning opportunities. And I've made plenty. Therefore, I've learned plenty, which is great. But that's part of the learning process, is making mistakes. So now I've got a good question for you guys. I'm sorry, please.
I was just going to say that one of our more recent episodes, we had a guest reviewer, a kid refereed a game where it ended up with a mass confrontation at the end, 7 red cards and everything. And it's one of those, like, I've refereed over 1,000 games. I've seen fights, never seen a mass confrontation on that scale that lasted for that long, right? And I hope no other referee ever does, but, obviously it does happen occasionally. But that's also, in my mind, a prime example. When we uploaded that video, there were some comments about, well, you should have done this differently, you should have done that differently. Why didn't you manage this in the middle of the fight? And there's times like when you're at grassroots referee, you're like, oh goodness, I think I've seen anything like this before. What do I, right? And so if you can see that in an interview like that, then hopefully you can process a little bit of, and give you a couple of tools in your toolkit if it ever happens in a gaming.
Yeah, I've actually had people very specifically. So I've done a few episodes on my channel, whatever, videos dealing with racist abuse. It doesn't happen often. Hopefully, does not happen often. But I've had it happen on my games, and I've had it happen where someone reported it to me and I didn't hear it, and I did hear it, okay, and had to take action. And there's certain steps that you have to go through in each one of those scenarios and different outcomes on that. But I've had refs like message me, hey, I just had this happen to me, and because I watched your video, I was able to deal with it appropriately. Because let me tell you, that is not in the annual research video they do online, or dealing with dissent like what Katie was talking about. That they don't do that. They don't play those things out. And there is such a need for all of these scenarios to be talked through in a non-confrontational scenario. I love the Mike Tyson quote, right? Everyone's got a plan until you're punched in the face. If you can see that mass confrontation happen and really talk through the triangle of observation and here's what to do and what to be thinking about, and this person does this, it just makes it a lot easier for when it does happen. I think there's so much value in it. Love that. Love that. All right, so I've got a good question for you guys now. So we've talked a lot about loving being a ref. Again, money, exercise, family time, all of those great things. All right, what are the things that you don't like about being a referee?
Okay, so I'll say, as much as I like to get the tea about young parents, what I don't like to have being a ref is just to see the influence of a bad coach on kids. Because like kids, they'll pick up actions on people that they idolize, their coaches or their parents. And so you might go to U9, U10 game, and like those kids, they're so innocent most of the time. But then you might get like parents that are being a little bit annoying, and you can see like that development, like as they grow up. Once you get to the U11, U12 level, like sometimes even then you get kids that are acting out because that's what they're taught by one of their coaches, or that's how their parents are acting. And then at the car, parents are just arguing and saying that ref was so bad. And then like they keep on picking up on those skills. There was like this one game semi-recently that I've had that there was this one kid, he was like super nice, but a team didn't think that the game was going as they thought it should be going. And so their coach or one of the parents was telling them to just shove the kid back because she's not calling that foul. So let's just shove them back. And then there was the shove that the other team did on the player, and like I immediately called that, but you could see that the kid, based on what he was hearing, was totally about to shove that other kid back in retaliation, because that's what the parents and coaches were saying. And I just think that it's really sad that you see like these innocent 9 and 10-year-olds like who just want to play on the pitch. They get more competitive, and not even like more competitive, but more like belligerent, to like more abusive, just because that's what they pick up from bad coaches or bad parents.
For me, it's a little bit in the same vein. When I see a victim mentality being instilled in the kids, right? And I know you did a podcast recently on victim mentality, which I loved, by the way. Youth sports has so many life lessons can be learned. It's one of the reasons I'm so passionate. But there's also the opportunity when you see whether it's a coach or parents basically blame a loss on I've worked off a field where a team won or lost 12-2 and they tried to blame it on the ref, right? Like, seriously? But even when it was a 2-1 loss, right? There was 50 different shots that they could have taken. There's different passes that Fritz. Like, even if I've screwed up the final decision in the final seconds and didn't call the PK that I should have called, there was other opportunities in the game. We have seen coaches who don't accept the victim mentality, and when people try to say it was, and they've shut them down and said, nope, look, we're not blaming the refs. We had our opportunities. But we've seen a lot where they try to just, no, not your fault. And it just feels like front row seat to something that I feel like is not healthy long-term versus.
I 1,000% agree on both sides of it. It is so interesting. I will say the common theme of both of your answers is the adult ruin youth sports. Like, all too often, it's like such a shame. Kids will be kids and generally have fun out there and be good sports, but they see the parents acting poorly and they emulate those behaviors. I will tell you, it's so funny, Katie. I was working, I think, like a U11 match a number of years ago, and there was a foul that occurred, and it was a little bit heavier challenge than needed to be. A kid fell over, and a dad literally screamed out loud, "Hit him!" It was like a street brawl or something. And I just stopped because I had blown the whistle. I just said, "Hey, kids, wait." And I walked over and I said, no, I didn't admonish the guy, but I just like clearly and loudly said that, and as slow as possible too. I really drew it out. I said, that is completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm sorry.
You hit them
like-
with the, not mad. I'm just disappointed.
That's exactly right, man. John, it's like that was so absurd. It's a 10-year-old child, man. He lost his balance. It was a foul. Come on. I see it all the time, and I totally agree. There are some coaches, I will make it a point after the game as well to reinforce to the coaches if I've seen great behavior and I see them do great work with their kids and they're really properly coaching them. And I've seen this after matches, like you say too, where the coaches are like, no, don't blame the ref. That's on us. We could have done this. We could have done this. We could have done this. I love seeing that. I will tell you, for my own son who was in the U.S. Development Academy and played high-level soccer for a long time and played through high school, I will tell you, he learned and grew as much through the losses as he did through the wins. I would actually say he grew more through the losses and more through the tough times and more for the times that he was benched and more for the times that he was doubted than when they won. And I think some people just lose the script. They don't understand that when you're playing sports, these are, as you said, life lessons. And sometimes you win, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes there's adversity, and sometimes life isn't fair, and sometimes calls don't go your way. That's okay. What are you going to do about it? Just play your best. Do your best.
When you try to blame the ref or blame some outside force, I feel like, my opinion is that you rob the children of that the opportunity to learn the lesson. A shame, actually.
And also in the game that I told you about, there was like this one kid on the other team, not the team with the parent that was like yelling to shove them back, but there was another kid on the other team, and he was fouling pretty hard. He was like 13 or something, but he was like still fouling pretty hard. And so I wanted to crack down on it because like the other team, like they were getting agitated. And so I went up to him and I said, hey, like during halftime, I said, hey, you might not mean to do this, but you're fouling the other team like pretty hard. I've been noticing that. And then he like innocently goes, I was fouling people hard. And so then I go, okay, maybe you didn't mean intentionally. I'll believe you because like, I'll believe, but you've got to stop doing the hard fouls because they're noticing it. I'm noticing it, and I'll have to crack down on it. Right. And then for the entire next half of the game, I don't think he even fouled the kid once. But on the other team that had a parent that was like shouting, shove him back, shove him back. And he was like almost about to retaliate. I went up to the kid after and like I softly said, hey, like I saw the foul, like I completely saw it, but give me a chance and don't try to shove players back. I'll call it before you have to do it because that just like, continues it. And like I said that like really thoughtfully. I didn't like, don't call it. I just don't do that. And then apparently he got a DM from the coach or the mother or something like that saying, my baby cried afterward. And I also think that's kind of a sense of the coaching that they've gotten or like the mentors that they have in their life, because like the other kid, he might have gotten a little bit more criticism. He knew how to take it more constructively, while the other kid might have been a little bit more, oh, you didn't do anything wrong. And so when he actually got decent, like respective criticism, he was more, his gut instinct was to just whine about it, basically.
Yeah, he's
So
been
I think
protected.
all the
Yeah, he's been protected from criticism. And then when you actually gave him some constructive criticism or guidance, he doesn't know how to handle it. And I would say that's probably one of those things as well for a young person or for any referee, that as a referee, we do get critiqued, we do get judged, and you learn how to deal with it as, you know, a human being, as a person, as a professional. I think it's such a great skill to learn and to practice in life. And I wish more kids would be open taking that guidance. So good for you on having those conversations and demonstrating that game management. Now, Katie, I've got a few more questions for you here. So Katie, for you, because honestly, I've never had a teenage referee on the program. You're the first one, so this is so exciting, and a young woman. So cool. Awesome. Love this. Scott, thank you so much for sharing your daughter with us on this program. All right, Katie, you're 16 now. What are your long-term goals as a referee?
My long-term goals is I really enjoy refereeing and doing the sport. I really like developing. And so I would really love to see myself going national one day with the help of mentors, at least regional, but like national would be really cool. I've got time to develop. Only been at it for 3 years. Few more can go national. We'll see.
Well, that would be amazing. And I think you're well on your way. There's no doubt about that. So regional and then national. And so what are the highest level games that you've personally worked thus far?
Personally worked with is probably I've center refereed an ECNL U16 match with the development program that I'm in. And that's probably the highest I've done so far.
Let me tell you, that is amazing. Most referees, especially teenagers, I don't know, in the state of Georgia, generally they won't even let you do same age. It's like usually 2 years low. So if you're 16, then you can do U14 matches. So you did a U16 and you're 16?
I was 15.
Do I have that? You were 15 and you did a U16 ECNL.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is cray-cray. Absolutely cray-cray. I know my son, when he was 15, he did a U13 ECNL. And when he finished that game, I think he was more mentally time in his entire life. It was intense, man. Very intense. We were on adjacent fields. We were both centering games. And at halftime, I got to go watch him, and the parents were all yelling. And true story. You know, they're all complaining about calls. And I walked up and I was like, oh, who's your kid? And they're like, oh, that kid over there. And I'm like, yo, my kid's out there too. And they're like, oh, which one? I was like, oh, the kid in the green jersey. And they're like, oh, he's doing a great job. They all changed. But I mean, it was really intense. So I have so much admiration for you doing that. So you're 16. Do you have any particular mentors? I know you said you're part of a youth development group, but do you have someone specifically who you work with as a mentor?
Not specifically. We have like just a mentor group that'll just get assigned to a few of your games. So I don't really have a specific mentor, but the main ones that are at most of the games that I get advice from are probably Aiden, who is national or regional? Yeah, national. And then also Delanette, who is an ex-FIFA referee. So those are like my main mentors. I have Delanette added on Instagram. If I ever need her opinion on a call, I can probably DM her. We're pretty chill. Met her when I was 14, going on 15. So it's just been a really cool experience with the group.
Don't forget, shout out to Derek Francois and Matt all the groups that run the CNRA, the group, we appreciate everything you do with the program.
They develop you really well. They develop you at good pace. They assign you to like good games, and they're just an amazing group to work with.
I just want to say and give a shout out to the Northern California Referee Association, SoCal referees as well. Florida does an amazing job. I've heard Minnesota does a great job as well. Oklahoma uniquely actually developed some amazing referees, but it's wonderful to hear that is out there and that you have those people that you can work with and get feedback from. I think that's so important. And I think also you mentioned this ex-FIFA referee, a woman to look up to, is really interesting. So I was going to ask you in the next question here, are there any unique challenges that you've seen being a young female referee?
I would say the main challenges is, one, some coaches, like, they'll take it a little bit easier on you because, like, you're a younger referee. But, like, at the same time, like, other coaches, because you're just wearing the referee badge, they kind of overlook your age and will sometimes, like, even treat you worse because they think that they can push you around because you're younger and they're older. So it's kind of just, like, overcoming that and being, like, a more, like, assertive person on the field so that they take you a little bit more seriously rather than, like, an young referee. The main struggle is just like with coaches who think that they can like push you around because you're younger.
And so how do you deal with that? What would be the advice, or what would you want other young referees to know or wish you had known when you started?
Wish I know when I started. One, it's okay to make mistakes, especially like when you're like in the recreational league, especially when you're first getting started. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how you learn. And then two, if you really want to develop into older age groups and be viewed as like more assertive and stuff like that, is one, like your body language on the field really help. Because, if you're like scrunched in, doing that, making like, weak calls, they're going to view you as weaker. So like a better posture, straight back, stuff like that. They view you as more assertive off the bat. And then, like, don't take any of their BS. Address it in, like, a professional, like, we're not doing this. Assertive, not angry, but also not super soft. You're not going to back down is the main thing. So just looking more assertive on the field, supporting your crew on the field, and then not taking any BS from people on the field is the main thing.
Posture, body language, mechanics, presence, all those things. I just want to say, if I am ever in Northern California, can we crew? I know your older son doesn't do it as much anymore. I would love to be on your crew. I'll run a line for you anytime. That would be so much fun.
Maybe we'll come to Atlanta. And I want to say also, you asked to be a female referee. As a other watching this, when we go out and we work games, and we'll go and do a grassroots game, and it'll be a girls game. Where she's the center referee and I'm one of her assistant referees. It's so refreshing or nice, or I'm not sure what the right word is. When she walks up to do the check-in with the players, and when she says, "I'm Katie, I'm going to be your center referee," you can watch their faces just light up. Holy, I judge it to be they get to see somebody that they're female referee who is authoritative position. You just see their faces just like, really nice to see.
I have tears in my eyes. I feel like I cry on almost every podcast episode, but there's usually something that really connects with me. And I do think it is so unbelievably amazing to see a young female referee on that field, whether it's for a women's game or whether it's for a men's game, boys, girls, whatever you want to say. I think it is so great to see a young woman take that challenge on and handle that responsibility the way Katie is doing. It is so great for everyone around that pitch, whether it's the players, whether it's the spectators, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the little boys and girls who are on the sideline watching their older siblings play, and they see a young woman out there who is commanding and controlling and managing that match and having fun and doing a job and getting paid. So awesome. Oh my gosh. Scott, Katie, you guys have been fantastic guests. If you don't mind, Scott, can you just remind everyone again, where can they find you guys? How can people follow you if they want to watch and ref with the Sappers?
It's Reffing with the Sappers. Our primary content is on YouTube. We do a full game review about once every 3 weeks or so. We do have started recently taking the shorter clips and the more interesting or controversial decisions and doing some. We are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and started uploading the shorter reels to there. But honestly, those are kind of meant to be, okay, if you find this interesting, but you want to see the complete game breakdown, go to YouTube. Where we are, we're always adapting.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's funny. I've been interested in possibly doing some more long form content, breaking down some of the games when I've got videos too. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm sure at some point. But again, Scott.
Give video the game. Come join us. We'll do a break.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, I can send it to you and we'll watch it together. It'll be good. We're perfect. I love this. It's a great idea. Done. It is happening. I can't wait. Yes, I just want to again say thank you so much for making this time to come join the podcast today. I just have so much admiration for both of you, not only as referees, but going above and beyond to create content to help other referees who are like us, these grassroots officials, the parents, the coaches, and everyone around the beautiful game get a little bit more empathy and understanding for what we're thinking about out there, what are the considerations we make, and to show that we're human. We make mistakes. It's okay. And we might see something different when you're looking at a camera and you're the sideline as opposed to the field. I think that's so wonderful. Katie, Scott, thank you guys so much. Sincerely.
Thank you for hosting.
We love being on. We love your content.
Thank you. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. It is so wonderful to meet other people who are giving back to the game in more ways than one, like the Sappers. Our sport is better with people like Katie and Scott in it. If you like today's pod, please check out my social media channels on Instagram, TikTok, website, and merch at refsneedlove2.com. If you like this, send it to everyone you know. I appreciate your support. And as always, I hope your next game is red card free.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching the podcast. It was such an incredible time doing that interview with him. And this is kind of not one of our usual stuff, but it was such a good opportunity to be with him, to be talking to him, and just to get that perspective of what he does. Again, really amazing channel, and we'll be back to our usual game reviews in a few weeks. Thank you so much for your support. I'm Katie.
And I'm Scott.
And we'll see you out on the pitch.